Good morning. So I look like I just got out of bed, and I did. You're welcome for that. I didn't want to get it all cleaned up because I'm going to go exercise, and I actually want to go exercise. I don't like to exercise, but I actually want to. I feel good because I've been doing it the last couple weeks. So, anyhow, that's what I'm going to do, which will be good for me in a lot of different ways this morning. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to talk about this week until my husband made a comment to me, and it had me thinking about how we let our work intertwine into our personal lives way too much. And it's not healthy. And it's really not good for anyone because eventually you get stretched to a point where you can't do that anymore. And then you feel like a failure because you actually need some time away from your job. And guess what? You should need time away from your job. I think we live in a time and a society in which we become our jobs, and our job is definitely part of us. It's part of who we are. It does play a factor in the kind of person that we are, but it's not our being. And we let it leach into our personal lives way too much. I know that I actually didn't realize how much better I felt when I moved my work email off of my phone and had to choose to go look at my email instead of constantly seeing the reminders come in or the notices come in, and feeling the need to look at them. And I think, to be honest, part of why we do that is we like to be needed. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see an issue at all with wanting to be needed or feeling like you're important or valued. But I think what happens is we let that feeling initially start us with our work life leading into our personal lives. And then it gets to a point that it's all overwhelming because you're not really taking a break from it. And we have to. You can do it for a while, been there, done that, but eventually you have to actually learn to step away better from your job. And if you want to continue doing your job and you want to continue to be good at your job, then you've got to find some boundaries to set. And we need to not only do that for ourselves, but we need to respect when people do that for themselves. So what I mean is, to me, email is fantastic because you can send an email message when you have time. So here's the other plus about email. The other person can open it and respond to it when they have time. But their schedule isn't your schedule. And that's okay. Yes, I do believe that we need to address work things within a reasonable amount of time, like traditional 24 hours kind of thing seems more than fair to me. But unless it's time sensitive, and I understand those things can happen, if you're not at work or you're not supposed to be working, then don't. Life will go on. Yes, there are exceptions to that. Now, if you're on call for something, if you're in the medical field, unfortunately, you are on probably much more often than you're off. And thank goodness that you exist, because we'd all be in a lot of trouble if we didn't have you. But for those who don't have to respond constantly, we do because we feel like we should, but we don't actually have to. We need to learn to walk away, and that way you feel more refreshed and you feel like you want to go back to your job, and you can actually look forward to it because you haven't been doing it 24/7. So I think one of the things that's most important is we learn to take time away from our jobs appropriately ourselves, but we also need to be prepared for other people to be doing that. And we live in a society where we want instant communication. So just because you had time to email somebody doesn't mean they had time to respond immediately. And we get so impatient. And text, oh, we're horrible about text because we send a text, we expect to get an immediate response. Well, guess what? Sometimes that's not an option. And that's okay. If it's an emergency, then you should call them in the first place. But second of all, people do more than one thing at a time, and they can only put so much as a priority. And I am an impatient person. Like, I do understand that feeling of, I'm thinking about it, you should be thinking about it, let's think about it together and be done with it. But that's not good, and it's not appropriate, and it's good for me to have to wait sometimes. I think when we do have to wait, not only do we appreciate things better, but I also think the responses we get may be better. Not necessarily the answer you want, but more accurate information because people have time to think about it, or they're in the right mindset, so they address something in a more appropriate way than they might be if they addressed it when they didn't want to. Those sorts of things. So please remember to step away from your job. It is something that you do. It is a part of you, but it is not who you are. And as a result, you need to be patient for other people when you reach out to them. They deserve time to step away from their job too. And I think we would all be happier and less stressed if we learned to actually walk away from things for a little bit and then came back to them. So I know that's not some brilliant new novel concept, but I just really think that we need to be reminded that it's okay to have time off from your job. And when you do, it's okay to actually not work and do whatever you need to outside of your job. That's all I have for today. Thanks. Bye.